Well, let's talk more about this particular decision now, and we speak to Human Rights, the Human Rights Foundation Executive Director, Zaid Kimmie. Mr. Kimmie, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. What do you make of this announcement, which is that the government of the day intends to institute or establish this commission of inquiry? Is it a step in the right direction, or might you say that the government's hand was actually forced here by yourselves and indeed the families of those who suffered under the apartheid regime?
Thank you. Good evening. I think it would be fair to say that the government's hand has been forced. The foundation and the families have been calling for this commission of inquiry for a number of years. And we've made a number of representations to the president about establishing this inquiry. There was a separate commission that was asked by the NPA to look at the way they were dealing with the TRC matters. That was led by Advocate Dumisa Nsebeza. And as part of his recommendations, he again called for a commission of inquiry to be established. So while it may appear magnanimous on the part of the president, his response is a direct result of the action that we've brought. Nevertheless, we welcome the fact that this inquiry will be established, and it's long overdue.
In fact, in your court application, you set out that the president should be directed to promulgate this particular inquiry within 30 calendar days of the order, and then upon that, the establishment of the inquiry, which will be chaired by a sitting or retired judge. Now, here's the interesting part. That judge should be designated by the sitting Chief Justice, and that is Mandisa Maya. Why that element, that this judge should be designated by the Chief Justice, as opposed to what we have seen in the past, that the president will appoint a judge to preside over an inquiry?
So, firstly, the establishment of this commission is part of the negotiations that we entered to about settling this case. And initially, our thinking was that the president was an interested party in this matter. It was his party that was in power when prosecutions and investigations did not take place. And therefore, there may have been at least the perception of some conflict of interest. I'll get back to that question about a real conflict of interest when we talk about what the actual proposal is on the table. And that's why we asked in our initial set of pleadings for the Chief Justice to appoint the head of the Commission of Inquiry or the judge that would sit. At this stage, we are not particularly fixated on that point. We are just pleased that the Commission of Inquiry will be appointed and that it will be a public Commission of Inquiry, and that people who are involved in this matter will be called to account for their actions.
I think
the issue. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to intervene. I thought you had finished your thought process. I'll tell you why this is fascinating, because in a way, South Africans will be transported back to the Commission of Inquiry looking into state capture, because the president at the time was seen as someone who is conflicted. Whereas here, the roles are slightly different. Yes, you say that the president could be conflicted because he belongs to the governing party of the day. The question is, do you not trust that the president would make the right appointment in terms of a judge who is going to look at things dispassionately?
No, I think we do not have any questions about the choice he will make. Of course, that will, and how the commission will conduct itself. That was our initial request. As part of the negotiations, we were happy to concede that the president would promulgate the notice for this commission of inquiry and that he would appoint the head of the commission of inquiry. So we have no further issue with that, with the way that's played out.
All right. So I take it, therefore, that you will not mind whoever appoints the judge that is going to preside over this, either the president or the Chief Justice?
At this stage, it seems clear that the president, having promulgated the commission of inquiry, will make the appointment of the presiding officer of that inquiry. And, and that is fine.
All right. All right. Please go ahead and make the other point.
I think the issue on which we do have a fairly substantive disagreement is that our initial case asked for constitutional damages to be awarded to the applicants to support them in their further search for truth and justice, the legal costs associated with investigations, trials and inquests, etc. The president has recommended that, or he will go ahead and ask that that question of constitutional damages be something that is considered by the Commission of Inquiry. And it's that issue that we have a fairly fundamental disagreement about. We believe that that question of constitutional damages should be settled by a court of law, and that postponing it to a Commission of Inquiry unnecessarily delays giving the families the resources they need, these and other families, to continue their search for truth and justice. And there's a real conflict in that the president, being a party to this action, will receive the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry. And the Commission of Inquiry can't make actual findings, it cannot make an award. And so it seems to us to be an inappropriate move to pass on the question of constitutional damages to the Commission of Inquiry. Yeah. And we will therefore proceed with our attempt to have this matter settled in a court of law. That's
very clear indeed.
Yeah.
There is another... Yes, please go ahead.
The commission, the part of the commission that we have no question about is that it should look into why prosecutions and investigations were delayed or blocked. Who was responsible? Who gave the orders? Who followed the orders? And if the commission finds that people have committed illegal acts, we will, of course, then continue to press that the president and the NPA act on those recommendations and prosecute those who are responsible for breaking the law.
If
any of people are found to have been broken the law.
Yeah. Following on that very thought process of people who may have blocked these investigations / prosecutions, do you find it interesting that the former president, Thabo Mbeki, and his former Minister of Justice, Bridget Mabandla, want to intervene in this case? And this is the reason why, as explained in the affidavit by the former President Mbeki, and I quote now, "Those allegations are highly defamatory and damaging to our dignity and reputation. Our character is beyond all price." And this is on the back of claims that they allegedly would have engaged in unconstitutional, unlawful, and criminal conduct. Is that what you and the families believe?
We have not made any findings or have not made any allegations. We have simply presented sufficient evidence that prosecutions and investigations did not take place. And there seems to be sufficient allegations in the public domain that there was political interference. What we didn't ask the court to make any findings about who was responsible and how it was done. We believed correctly that those issues would be best left to a commission of inquiry, where people would be able to defend themselves and present any evidence that they had. And we believe that both President Mbeki and Minister Mbandla would be best placed to, their best recourse is to go before that commission of inquiry. And if they have information that implicates others or clears their own name, that is the correct forum where they ought to present that information.
Very interesting.
And we look forward to that process. And I believe they should do too. If they want to clear their names, that is the appropriate place to go and clear their names and remove any sense that any shade that have been thrown at their character.
Zaid Kimmie, thank you very much for your time tonight. He is the Human Rights Foundation Executive Director, talking to us tonight.